drop tower, I went up there. This is when my kids were little, and I've got a 1-year-old now, but I got a 19 and a 21-year-old. We went up there. My daughter changed her mind. She didn't want to get on the ride once we got up to the line. I'm like, too bad, we waited in line, so I made her do it. And she was crying. And then I'm like, it's okay. So we go up and do it. We're way up there at the top of the drop tower, and I almost started crying. I started feeling like very scared, and I felt so bad. I felt like I was such a failure as a parent. But anyways, I don't think I could do the thing like. Anyways, here's the point. So what we do is we're going to talk about what an angle of elevation is and an angle of depression. So here's this, if you will, the horizontal line with her eyesight. You see this angle right here? You see how she's looking up? That's called an angle of elevation. Elevation means to go up. And guess what we call this angle right here? Well, we call it an angle of depression. So if you're looking up, that's going to be an angle of elevation. If you're looking down, that's the angle of depression. So if you're the girl on the ground looking up, we call that angle the angle of elevation. If you're the guy up here on the hand glider looking down, we would call that the angle of depression. Now, let me make sure I'm clear here. The angle of depression, you have to have a horizontal line, and then it goes down to this line of sight. Similarly, down here, there's a horizontal line, and then you have to go up to this line of sight here, so that's an angle of elevation, okay? What else do I need to say? Oh, can you guys guess what's true about this horizontal line and that horizontal line? They're parallel. That's a very important consequence, because that means that these are alternate tier angles, which we've already studied, which means they have to be congruent. So that's going to be useful here later on. Okay, so here's a nice little picture, and I just stole this out of our book. So here we've got this guy in a balloon. Again, I'm not sure I could do that. There's a mountain over here, and then there's it looks like a seagull or something, some bird over here. So the question is, what is a description of the angle as it relates to the situation shown? So angle 2, what would you call angle 2, guys? What do you think? Is that an angle of elevation, an angle of depression, or neither? I think I heard someone say angle of elevation. So here's that horizontal line. Angle 2, he would be looking up. So I agree. I think angle 2 is an angle of elevation. And guys, I know that this is kind of an easy thing to be able to figure out, but you got to know if it's an angle of elevation or an angle of depression. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to do an activity where I'm going to have you practice this. Okay, what about angle 3? Oh, exactly. That's going to be an angle of depression. So angle 3, so now the guy, he's looking down this way, so that's going to be an angle of depression. So for part A, it's angle of elevation because he's having to look up, so it's horizontal and up. And then for part B, angle 3, he's having to look down, so that's going to be an angle of depression. No big deal, right? That's pretty simple stuff, right? Okay, we're going to play a game. If you got your phone, get your phone out. If you do not have your phone, you can use your Chromebook. And if you are a virtual student, I would like you to join in as well. I'm going to get a game going here. Hopefully I've already got it loaded up. Here we go. Let's hit play. Okay, we're going to play a little Kahoot here. Remember, guys, this is just a practice recognizing angles of elevation and angles of depression. This won't take very long, but I just want to make sure that we're good. Wait just another 30 seconds, so if you're trying to join, let me know. Is everyone in here loaded up? Should have 14 people total, but if we get 12, I'll be happy with 12. All right, we're going to go. Hopefully these pictures will look clear enough for you. So does A represent an angle of elevation, depression, or neither? So here's angle F, angle E, angle D, angle C, angle A, angle B. Ooh, only 5 of you got that one. That's surprising. I thought more of you would. So up here we've got this owl, right? And so here's the horizontal line. So what's the owl doing with angle A? Looking down. So that's an angle of depression. Angle of depression. Mary, you are in first place. Anthony, you are in second. Grant, you are in third. B represents an angle of elevation, an angle of depression, or neither. Ooh, only 3 of you got that one. This one's neither. The reason it's neither is you have to have the horizontal line, like up here for A, you have this horizontal line and then it goes down. For angle B, you do not have a horizontal line. You have a vertical line. That is not an angle of depression. Grant, you are now in first. Vaughn, you are in second. And Mary, you are in third. Which variable represents an angle of elevation from the mouse to the owl? All right, now we're getting somewhere. People are figuring it out. Good deal. Okay, Anthony, you moved up to second. Which 2 angles are congruent or equal in the diagram? A and E. So this goes back to what we just said when I was going over the notes. Remember, this horizontal line is parallel to this horizontal line. So these 2 angles are what we call alternate interior angles and have to be congruent. So the correct answer is A equals E. Okay, Grant, you're in the lead. Anthony, you're in second. And Vaughn, you're in third. What's A? Okay, it is neither. Nice. I didn't get you guys that time. You guys are figuring it out. Anthony, you have moved into first. The only angle of depression elevation in the diagram is Grant, you're in second. Vaughn, you're in third. The only angle of depression elevation in this diagram is okay, that was a little bit harder. Okay, so remember, it has to be horizontal, and then so it's angle B. Angle B. Angle C does not have a horizontal, and angle A does not have a horizontal. Well, it has a horizontal, but it doesn't have a line of sight, so it's got to be B. Anthony, you are still on fire. Grant, you're in second. Based on the diagram, B is an angle of okay. It's an angle of elevation, guys. Angle B, you've got to look up, so that's going to be an angle of elevation. Anthony, you are still on fire. Grant, you're in second. Vaughn, you're in third. Based on the diagram, what's angle B? Elevation, depression, or neither? Okay, it's neither, guys. Angle B here, it's not with horizontal. Now, angle C would be something, but angle B is not because it doesn't have that horizontal side, right? It has a vertical line and it has this angle line, but it doesn't have a horizontal. Mary is coming on. Anthony, you're still on fire, buddy. You can keep it going. Which two angles are congruent? D and F, again, this goes back to what we were talking about here. Horizontal line, transversal. Those are alternate interior angles. That's what we're dealing with today. Anthony, you're on fire. Vaughn, you have moved up into second. Mary, you are now in third. What does E represent? E is this one right here. Okay, neither. Anthony, you are on fire. Mary, you are now in second. Two more. In the diagram, what does F represent? F. Elevation, depression, or neither? Nice. It is depression. All right, last one, Anthony. Let's see if you can keep the streak going. D. Right. Let's see who our winners are. Third place, Vaughn. Mary's in second. Our champion, Anthony. Woo! All right. Okay, guys. So the point of the Kahoot there was to make sure that you guys are understanding the difference between an angle of elevation and an angle of depression. I know that was kind of a silly game, but it was hopefully a little bit fun. Hopefully you got some candy, and hopefully you got a better idea of what angle of elevation versus angle of depression is. So we're going to continue to move on and look at an example where we're going to actually use some more math and not just identifying things. So here's what example 2 says. A 30-foot ladder leans against a wall, so the base of the ladder is 12 feet from the base of the building. What is the ladder's angle of elevation? Okay, so here's what I would recommend that you do. On these homework questions, when you work, I recommend that you draw. Now, I've already got the pictures drawn right here for this one, so that makes it easy for me. All right, so here's what I would do. We know that the ladder, we know that the ladder is 30, so I'm going to put 30 next to that. By the way, we also know that that is a right angle. So that tells me that the ladder is the hypotenuse. Now, that's not such a big deal, but we might need that. And then they have also told us that the ladder is 12 feet from the base. So they're telling us that this distance here is 12. So this is 30, that's 12. Now here's the most important question. We're trying to figure out this angle right here. And I'm going to call it theta, guys, because I'm used to using theta, but if you don't like the letter theta, it's just a Greek letter. You can use the letter x. We're trying to figure out that letter, that degree measure. Now this goes back to the warm-up. Remember on the warm-up we talked about SOHCAHTOA, right? Sine, cosine, and tangent. Which of the three do you think we're going to need on this one? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Cosine, absolutely, Ron, you were right. We're going to use cosine. The reason we're going to use cosine is, here's our angle. This is, and let me do it in a different color, this is the adjacent side, and this is the hypotenuse. You see how it says A and H? That stands for adjacent and hypotenuse. In other words, the cosine of theta will be equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. This is that important definition I gave you last Friday. So now we just got to substitute stuff in. Cosine of theta is equal, well, what's the length of the adjacent side? It's 12. What's the length of the hypotenuse? It's 30. Uh-oh, now what? How do we figure out what theta is? How do we figure out what theta is? Well, last week we talked about this with our calculator. You'll see that there's a little button that says COS, but above that button you'll see it says COS to the -1. We're going to use that. That's the inverse of the cosine function. This is what we're going to do. We're trying to figure out what theta is, so we have to undo cosine. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit second, let me make sure I got my calculator here. Hit second cosine. Now that's with my calculator. If you have a different calculator, the steps might be a little bit different. Divided by 30, and then hit enter. And I get that theta is 66.42 degrees. That's what theta is. That's the angle of elevation for this particular problem. The angle formed with the ground, which is the horizontal, going up to the ladder is 66.42 degrees. Now I'm going to stop there and ask, do you guys have any questions on how I got that answer? Does anybody need help using the calculator? If you didn't get 66.42, you might need to check that you're in degrees. Questions? Okay, so again, let me go through how I did this problem. The words, I put the numbers that went with the picture. Then I had to figure out that this was the cosine curve that I needed to use, or the cosine ratio, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. Here's my angle theta. So the adjacent is 12, the hypotenuse is 30, so I put 12 over 30. And then here's, in my opinion, the hard step for students to remember. You've got to figure out what theta is. This is saying the cosine of some angle is 12 over 30. So what's the angle? Well, to find the angle, you've got to use that inverse cosine function. All right. So here's what I'd like you to do. This problem is very similar to the last one. I'm not asking you to find the answer. I just want you to set it up. I want you to, number one, I'd like you to draw the picture, kind of like I did, with the numbers. And then number two, I want you to figure out, are you going to use sine, cosine, or tangent? And then just stop there. That's what I'd like you, you don't have to finish it. I want you to try to do it on your own. Draw the picture, put the numbers where you think the numbers should go, and then try to figure out, is it sine, cosine, or tangent that you're going to use? Okay, I'm going to start drawing on my picture. If you aren't sure what to do, I'm going to draw a triangle like this. Here's my triangle. Notice that I made it a right triangle. All these trig ratios we've been talking about, sine, cosine, and tangent, those all have to be based on right triangles. In this particular problem, they tell us that the tower is 300 feet high. So I'm going to put 300 over here for this height of this vertical line segment. It says that it casts a shadow, so this would be the shadow here. Here's the shadow. If the sun's up over here, the shadow is going to come down like this. So this shadow is 192 feet. Now it's asking us, what is the angle of elevation to the sun? So if you wanted to, let me put a sun over here. And this isn't going to be a very good picture because the sun will be probably way up higher. Okay, so here's the sun, right? So it's casting this shadow of the radio tower. Now, so I've done question or part A that I asked you to do. I did this part up here, check. Now, most important question, is it sine, cosine, or tangent in this one? Marianne? It is absolutely tangent. Exactly what it is. And the reason it's tangent, we're trying to figure out this angle right here, which is the angle of elevation. This is the opposite, 300, and the adjacent is 192. So I'm going to write tangent theta equals opposite. In fact, let me write opposite leg over hypotenuse. Remember, we're using that whole so, ka, toa. This right here is what helps me remember which one of the three I need to use. Now we're just going to fill things in here. The tangent of theta, opposite leg. Oh, that's 300. That's, oh, I did that wrong. Do you guys see my mistake? I put hypotenuse. What should I have put on the bottom since we're doing tangent? Adjacent leg. I just jinxed myself. I said, here's the thing I used to remember it, and I just wrote the wrong thing. Remember, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So this should be adjacent leg. Thank you, Marianne, for catching that. So then we need to put 192 down here. My point is, the reason I knew I screwed up, this is the hypotenuse, right? And we don't know anything about the hypotenuse here. So that's why I'm not using sine or cosine. We don't know what that guy is. We know the opposite leg and we know the adjacent leg. All right, so we're going to use our calculator again. So to find theta, you're going to do tangent inverse 300 over 192. So let's go ahead and get our calculators and let's practice doing that so that we know how to use our calculator. So I'm going to do second tangent 300 divided by 192. Theta is 57.38 degrees. That is the angle of elevation. Okay. Any questions on that one? Okay, so let's go ahead and move on then to our next example. I'm not going to read this one to you. I've not given you a picture. I would like you to draw the picture. Put the numbers where you think they should go and all that stuff. And then set up, figure out, is it going to be sine, cosine, or tangent? If you want to go ahead and work it all the way up, you can. But I'm going to give you 2 minutes here. Set up your picture. See if you can get this set up. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you to practice what you're going to be doing on your homework with this stuff so that you'll be good to go. Aaron, do you have a question? Yeah.
You should. So I don't know if you remember, if you have x over y equals w over z, you just do x times z equals w times y. And let's say you're trying to figure out what the z is, so then z is just going to be wy over x. Does that make sense? So you remember cross multiplying? Same idea. So on the one side you have step, just put it over one. Cross multiply.
Okay, virtual students, we're going to, before I go over the answer for this one, I just launched a poll question. I'd like you to answer that poll question, please. But let's go and look at this particular problem. This problem says, it's supposed to draw a picture. So let's draw a picture first. So we got a plane flying. It's flying really high, 35,000 feet. By the way, I made this problem up, and I actually looked that up. That's somewhere within the normal range of flying. I don't know if you've ever been in a plane or not. So we know we've got this plane way up here, 35,000 feet, way up there. And it says that the angle of depression from the plane to the base of a building, so here's the plane, maybe I should write plane up here. And then over here, I'm going to have some building. Let me get this out of the way. So I'm going to draw, let's just put it right here. I'm just going to put a little one with it. There we go. So I'm going to put this at the base of the building. So this is going to come down like this. Now here's the thing, guys. On this one's a little different. Here here's that horizontal line. Remember when we talked about when we did that Kahoot, that you have to have the horizontal. This is the angle of depression right here. Here is the angle of depression. And it tells us that the angle of depression is 10. So it's telling us that this is 10 degrees. So that's cool. The question is what is the distance that the plane has to fly to be directly above the building? So I'm going to draw something else here. I'm going to draw this vertical line right here. And I'm going to erase a little bit over here. And I'm going to add a little right angle symbol right here. Now guys, if this angle right here is 10, anybody want to take a stab on what that angle right there is? It's got to be 10 as well. Now guys, your picture doesn't necessarily have to look exactly like mine. Now the question they're asking us is, what's this distance up here, right? Well, that's the same thing as what's this distance down here. So that's what we've got to do. So, by the way, which of the three do we need here? This would be, here's our angle, right? Here's our angle of elevation, or if you want to call it the angle of depression. We've got the opposite side, and we want to know the adjacent side, right? So which one is that? It's got to be tangent, right? So this is definitely tangent again. So I'm going to say tangent of theta is opposite over adjacent. In this case, we know what the degree measure is, so we're going to say the tangent of 10 degrees. What is the opposite side? Well, it's 35,000. And what is the adjacent side? That's the part I don't know, so I'm just going to call that part x. So how do I find x? Well, I just had a student ask me that. And let me circle this first here and just tell you this right here is the key to this problem, that equation. Tangent 10 equals 35,000 over x. So what I told the student was, you just need to cross multiply. So if you think about this as being over 1 and we cross multiply it here, you would get x times the tangent of 10 degrees is equal to 35,000. And then I would just divide by tangent. So then you would say 35,000 over the tangent of 10. That is what you need to do with your calculator to get your answer. Just do 35,000 divided by the tangent of 10. Guess I better do that. 35,000 divided by 10. Oops, sorry, not 35,000 divided by 10, divided by the tangent of 10. Let's try that again. I get x is 19849.86, and that means the decimal or the comma would go there. This is feet. That would be the answer. The other thing that I could do for this particular problem, if I wanted to, is I could convert this from feet to miles. You guys want me to convert this to miles? Are you okay? Feet's good? Okay. So I'll leave this as kind of the final question here. What would x be in miles? So to answer that question, you'd have to know how many feet are in a mile, and I'll give you a hint. It's bigger than 1,000. Anyways, so that's the answer there. Let's see how the full question went. Okay, good. I had one person do the full question. Wow, guys, you virtual students are not with me here, are you? Maybe I should just mark you guys out. I don't know. You guys aren't with me, are you? Okay, well, I'm gonna stop recording.